Good evening, everybody. I'm Tyler Rowland here at Huntington High School. I'm with Mahki Jackson, and it's definitely going to be a fun game tonight between Huntington High and Peninsula Catholic. By the time that this interview is released, the game will have been played, but what a special night it's going to be here, and we're honoring one of the community greats in Tommy Hill, and who has recently passed away, but somebody that definitely, from talking to Coach Holmes today, has left a legacy in the minds of many. And Mahki, I know that as your grandfather tonight, Tommy, going to be considered an honorary coach for tonight, and just talk about just his, and I can relate as somebody that was very young when my grandfather passed, and talk about just the impact that he had on the community.
Man, well, I know he used to be a coach down at the 80 Lewis, and there's a lot of people who've told me stories about how they loved him. Everybody around here knew my grandfather, and he was just a great impact on their lives. Like Coach Ty told me that he was a coach for him. He coached Coach Ty down at the 80 Lewis, and my grandfather would always tell me stories about when he would coach them and how they would come back from big deficits, and how he would just impact the lives of those players, and that was just great. Yes, sir.
And you're somebody that also, as a player, has a reputation for leadership. Talk about what the characteristics are of a good leader.
I think it's really just setting a good example. You know, you got to do things that you would want your other teammates to do. You know, I try to be more than a leader just off the court. You know, my father works at the YMCA, and I get to coach down there sometimes. So I get to see all the little kids coming up, you know, try to help them to get as good as they can, because someday they might want to be up here playing for the High. So I just want to set a good example for not just my teammates, but everybody in the community.
Wow, so you coach and talk about something that you've learned from coaching.
Man, that you just gotta go through it, because sometimes, you know, it's gonna be hard and you're not gonna know what to do. But I think I have a good knack for being with kids. You know, like, it's just fun being around other people and just teaching them what I love. I love basketball. They love basketball. So me being able to give back to them is just great.
And talk about what it feels like, the rewarding part of it, just being this year, just coming in. I mean, you're playing in some big games. You've done some big things. Will continue to do some big things in basketball. And just talk about the rewarding feeling when you see those kids come up to you and they look up to you for that inspiration.
Oh man, it's great. It puts a smile on my face, because when I know that there's people that look up to me, it just makes me want to be a better person in general. You know, I get it from my dad and my grandfather. I looked up to them, and they were just great examples. So, you know, I just want to follow in their footsteps. It just feels good to be a great example for people, because it just makes me feel good, you know.
And speaking of a great example, too, talk about what it's like playing for Coach Ty Holmes.
Oh, man, it's great. He has a knack for basketball. He has that. He played. He knows what to do. And when he tells us stuff, he gives us a good example. In practice, it's not just him telling us. He can show us. Like, you know, they said he was an all-state point guard. I don't know exactly about that, but I can see it just in the way that he tells us stuff and the way he knows the game. It's great playing for Coach Ty.
And lastly, Mahki, are there any shout-outs that you'd like to give?
Definitely a shout-out to everybody in this community. Everybody in Huntington High. We need all the support we can get this year, especially shout-out to my grandfather. You know, one thing I want to say is that he always told me how, when he coached at the 80 Lewis, he coached Coach Ty, and he told me that he would always say, all for one for all, the Lord is on our side. And so we just want to keep that with us throughout the whole season.
Wow, very well said. And so it sounds like and definitely a strong faith in God you have. Talk about that.
Well, you know, my grandfather was a great man. He loved the Lord, and we always went to church every Sunday. He was our pastor at our church, so, you know, we was always there, and it was great. He always told, you know, and what he did, he didn't just say it, he always did it. So, you know, I just try to follow in his footsteps. You know, he was always a great Christian, so I'm following his footsteps.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Very well said. Mahki Jackson, and be sure to stay tuned. We'll have coverage for Huntington High later this year on My Town TV, and when they come to a couple of the Kentucky schools to play, and you'll also see on local coverage providers. Check with them for further coverage, and if you get a chance, come watch them play. They're a lot of fun to watch.
Sure.
So,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We thank you, Mahki, and thank you to the Huntington community, and we will see you soon.